one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I would take a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Has everybody had a chance to look at the consent agenda? Otherwise, I'd take a motion to approve.
So moved.
There's been a motion by Maggie,
Second.
seconded by Bruce to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we're to number 4. Resolution accepting the bids.
I'm assuming, Mayor, I'm on and you can hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, very good. Okay, before you is for your consideration of the award of bids for the Columbus Avenue 2022 Street and Utility Improvement Project. We opened bids on Friday the 25th, and there were 5 bids received, and they ranged from a high of $2,674,000 and change to a low bid of $396,362.83. That low bid from Hazelton Construction, I point out that it was $152,400 above the engineer's estimate, or about 6.4% above the engineer's estimate. While we like to be not the low bid, it gives you kind of a sign of the times and what's happening. I know back in October when we were doing our original project estimates, fuel prices hadn't risen, and then some of the supply chain issues really hadn't come to light. I know by the time we were putting this out to bid, we did try to adjust our engineer's estimate to maybe be a little closer to what we think was going to happen, but even we were a little off with that. The part I do want to point out is that the 4 bids on the project, or the 4 lowest bids on the project, were within $85,000 of each other. So that actually shows that we've got a good solid bid and good solid costs. And again, just reflecting the times right now with mostly related to probably fuel prices. We did review the bids to kind of see where things kind of stood out, and it was elements like the storm sewer costs and the water main costs that probably stood out the most. Storm costs are split 50-50 with the county, between the city and the county. And a lot of the roadway costs, were borne by the county. So the county is probably impacted the most on the project. As far as the water main costs, it appeared a little higher than normal. The way we had actually, some of the work that we had planned back in the fall, actually ended up getting taken out of the final plans before final plans were completed. And so that ended up, I guess, reducing some of those costs, but keeping it in line with what was budgeted last fall. And I do want to point out, as I pointed out in the agenda report, that due to the type of funding on this project, there is no impact on the city's general levy. And there's no changes to the proposed assessments on streets, and the water and sewer rates, services turned out to be pretty close to what we had estimated back in the fall. And we're going to be sharing that with the council at the next council meeting, so we can kind of lock those in on the water and sewer service rates, if you recall that discussion. We have confirmation from Scott County, both the county engineer and the transportation services director, that they're on board with the bid. They concur with the award for the project. So Hazelton Construction, just to note that they've done satisfactory work for the city in the past. The last project that they did was the 2012 Street and Utility Improvement Project, which included 2nd Street, northwest and northeast, the one that actually ties into Columbus Avenue. So at this point, we see no reason not to award a contract to Hazelton Construction. I'll turn it over to you for questions. Otherwise, before you is that resolution for consideration.
Okay, any questions from the council?
I would just make a comment, maybe staff can comment as well. At one time, I think we may have mentioned that we would be doing an addendum bid for the industrial park streets. And I think through conversation with Chris and staff, you determined it wasn't worthwhile doing that at this time. And I don't know if you want to,
Yes.
just to bring the council up to date on the thinking behind that.
Yeah, I'll bring it up. I think by the time it was discussed the last time, it was really too late in the game, and I think there was a lot of there was some concern and question about the volatility of bidding and bid prices. I It was our recommendation. We've had a lot of success on those smaller projects like the industrial park there that could be bid like kind of late season and allow a contractor to do a lot of the groundwork and maybe initial earthwork and then leave it for the winter and come back in the spring and do the curb and the paving and stuff. We think we'll get a lot more competitive bid that way. It's kind of good fill-in work. But the main reason was it was just kind of too late in the game to try to work it in, and then just concerns about trying to do that with the volatility of bidding right now. We'll give it some time to let things kind of level off.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, who wants to offer the resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 22040401.
A second.
And Sean made a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Chris. All right, the next item on the agenda is, I think you folks are here for the next, one of the next items.
Variance.
The variance, so, but if there's anybody that wants to address the council, they have 5 minutes to do so. Otherwise, we'll move on to resolution, or the resolutions, the first item approving the variance. Ken?
Yep, so I'll take that one. I do have a short PowerPoint we'll run through here for you from the Planning Commission summary. Wait for that to pop up here. All right, so summary of the variance meeting that we had back in the last week of March for the variance request V1 2022. This is a front setback variance from the normal 30-foot to 28 feet, so just a 2-foot variance for an attached garage addition. The applicant is Stephanie Gill, and she's also here with her contractor, Mr. Mossberg. Again, the variance is just a 2-foot setback at her attached garage addition at 503 Liberty Lane. The home was actually constructed in 1991. There was a 30-foot setback that was required at that time. I don't know why the home wasn't built at the 30 feet, but the fact of the matter is that it is at 28 feet. And she's simply looking to continue that 28-foot setback for an attached garage addition to the east side of the attached garage for another stall that will kind of come off the garage at an angle. We'll show you the site plan here in a minute. I did want to note we did not find any previous variance of record, but there was also 2 other homes in addition to this one on Liberty Lane that also did not meet the minimum 30-foot front setback. So we did not require surveys at the time, I think is part of the reason why they don't, all of the homes did not meet the minimum setback, but nevertheless, it is what it is today. And the Planning Commission did ultimately recommend approval at their meeting back on March 23rd with a vote of 4-0. Look at the property there, it's owned single-family residential. The property directly to the north is Liberty Park Apartments, which is owned high-density residential, just to point that out as well. Zooming into the property, I've outlined in green the minimum setbacks for the property, and you can see just that 2-foot encroachment in that front setback, which also is where the existing attached garage is today. So all the other setbacks would be met, just continuing that 28-foot setback. And actually, as you get further to the east, you get further away from that front property line. So eventually, it's not even at the full 28 feet. It's further away. But this would allow that to be continued at most no closer than 28 feet away. Kind of a schematic here, outlining kind of the pink fuchsia color there. You can see the width of the garage and then kind of angling off to the east side of the property line there. And they also have a house addition too, but we're not reviewing that for the variance, so. Couple of photos here. You can see there's a large tree in the front yard. It was noted that they're gonna try to keep that tree in the front yard with the garage addition. So we'll see. Hopefully they can keep that. It's a nice large tree. And then just kind of looking at other homes on the cul-de-sac there as we go through. Two of the homes down in the cul-de-sac are not at the 30-foot minimum either. So again, nothing unusual here. They're not encroaching any further than they exist today. And again, staff and the planning commission do recommend approval of the variance for that 2-foot minimum, 2-foot variance to the front setback minimum at 503 Liberty Lane. And all the findings are located in the resolution that is in the packet. So with that, if you have any questions for the applicant or the contractor or myself, I can stand for those questions.
I don't really have a question about this particular variance, but I guess I'm curious about the non-compliant status. And seems like we have a number of properties that you mentioned are non-compliant. And and I'm not trying to speak to raise anybody's concerns or anything, but if the house would burn down, would we require the 30-foot then, or would they, or
No,
should we
so-
try to grandfather in a variance for this non-compliant?
So they would be considered legal non-conforming uses, so even under state statute, they would have 6 months to reapply for a permit to rebuild as it exists today.
Okay.
The only case where you couldn't do that is if they actually were over a property line, and they would not have clear title to the full, portion of that addition, but no, even the legal non-conforming homes, they can
So
rebuild.
there's no benefit to grant a variance in,
Oh, you're talking like for the other ones that aren't
the
looking
other
for
ones?
anything.
for this one or the other ones?
This one there is because they're expanding the encroachment further than it exists, but the other ones that exist, no, they're just noted as a legal nonconformity and they can continue that way. Obviously, if they don't look to further encroach within that setback, there's no reason to further visit that with a variance request to keep it as is. But if they wanted to add on, again, within that minimum setback, then just
So
like
it's
this
just up to the homeowners to understand they have 6 months to rebuild, otherwise they run into
Yeah,
a
no,
problem.
like when property sells, it's always a question we get, or title companies check, is the home conforming? And then if destroyed by fire or whatever, well, obviously, Bruce, being in the banking industry, they wanna make sure that their, home for the collateral is able to be, reconstructed.
So if we were to grant a variance for the existing condition, would that eliminate any kind of title or those kind of issues?
I don't know if it's really a title issue at that point. It's still, like I said, under state statute in Minnesota, you can rebuild within that, 180 days anyway, so I don't know. I've never had any issue with a title company saying, let's do a preemptive variance.
Okay, just if we would go back and say, okay, it's okay, so we grant a variance, that would not change it to a conforming use then, would it?
It would be obviously have the variance of record, which I guess from a legal standpoint, probably would make it conforming at that point, but from a standpoint of rebuilding it,
Not an issue.
it's not an issue.
But they're still in the right of way. If the Gills would have built this garage 3 feet back from that line.
You would have still had the portion of the home in the,
It still would have had to come.
it still would have had the
Okay.
legal nonconformity.
Okay,
Sure.
okay.
Yep. And we actually run into that quite a bit where they'll say, no, I don't wanna go through the variance, I'll just keep the portion of my house that's already within that, and I'm just gonna build meeting all the setbacks.
Yeah,
So
but then they wouldn't have had a,
then they
would've
wouldn't
been-
have to go through the
Correct,
process.
okay.
Yep, they just wanna
Okay.
match, keep that look along the front there, and
All right.
reasonable request.
So we're granting the variance for the whole house, not just the addition?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, so we are in effect,
The existing home and the
we're
addition.
grandfathering. Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve variance 12022, for the home existing on 503 Liberty Lane.
There's been a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
And do we want to make sure that we're actually not, well, approving the variance, but there's a resolution that
Yeah.
goes along with
The
it?
resolution.
So we're also approving resolution 22040402.
Correct.
Thank you.
Great, the next item up is
Good luck, guys.
lease of the property that the city of New Prague owns.
If I can take that one. It was quite a month ago, Josh and I met with the current farmers of the future athletic complex land. Actually, one of the owners, I should say, Dan Sullivan. His dad, Ralph, was not at that particular meeting, but they are the co-tenants under the name of Lanesburg Farms LLC. We've had leases with them going back to 2009. I know a couple of years ago, we actually went out kind of on the open market and, you know, made sure that they were being competitive. And while we didn't do that again this time, we obviously looked at the USDA cropland rates in the area. And we were able to come to a proposal, and they have agreed to it, to lease the land at $235 per tillable acre. So it's a little over $9,100 a year. And the tillable acres is a little under the 40. It's actually 38.77 acres. But we're actually a little bit above the USDA rates for 2021. Just kind of based on where we've been seeing rates. We were at a kind of a low point with the last lease, and we've obviously been increasing from there. But we think they've been a great tenant. They still allow us to put excess snow on the property, even though we haven't done that for a couple of years. And never had an issue with them. And obviously the lease payment well exceeds the property taxes that we have on the property every year. So we're recommending entering into another 3-year lease, which would run from 2023 through the end of 2025 at the $235 per tillable acre for that lease period.
Okay, are there any questions on this?
I forgot to look in detail, but do we have the ability to assign this lease if we would sell the property?
Let's see here.
I see that the tenant can't.
The tenant cannot. I don't think we have that provision in there, Bruce. I know we can terminate the lease with a 30-day notice, like if we had a sale or some other use come up for that. And there's obviously the point in there, it's you have to negotiate compensation for fertilizer, crops, that type of thing, if it happens to be an issue at the time of that. But no, I don't see anything about any.
There isn't anything for
Yeah.
the city being able to assign it.
What, I think just to keep the communication going between the parties, that they're aware that we're doing studies of facilities, and you know, this is being discussed. And from a practical standpoint, for us to get out in 30 days is probably not realistic, but certainly in a 12-month time period, which would allow for the growing cycle to take place or something like that. But it would be prohibitive for us to negotiate
I don't
paying
think
for the crops and all the costs involved in it.
No, we really would not want to get into that, but, no, they're aware of the studies we have out there and, to do yet, obviously, and who knows, they may be a potential purchaser even at that point, but.
Okay,
Well, I think the fact that there's language in here that the parties will negotiate compensation, it opens dialogue. We might say, we don't want any compensation, just go ahead with your cycle, harvest the crops, and that's the end, right?
Yeah, the cost would be the other direction. If we decided that we wanted to take over the property and build something on it, and they had crops on it, we would
Right.
have to pay for them all that funds.
Right, and I think that's what I'm referring to, is it would open dialogue, and so we could be nice and say, we can wait until
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
yeah.
okay, any other questions, discussion?
No, but who would you expect to buy that and where that would even come into play? We don't really expect that to come into play where we've got all sorts of projects going. We're not gonna be trying to
No,
You think with that,
but if we
right?
do a facility study and they say, get rid of the property or exchange, it, in that 3 years.
Nothing would move within the cycle of the crop, so, I mean, we'd have to plat everything.
Yeah.
It's a months long process.
Exactly, at 3 years,
If somebody came today and said, we'll put a new facility there for
I'll
you,
move it, because it's kind of, all the other stuff is mute. I mean, it's not really like we're gonna go attack, we gotta build something right now, you know? and-
No, but it would be like if we'd wanna sell it and assigning the lease would be selling it.
And really, this just gives us an out. I don't foresee us ever, again, stepping in mid-crop cycle, but
Yeah,
the language is there
absolutely.
for some weird reason we have to, I guess.
Just in case, yeah, okay.
and if somebody wanted it that bad, the developer, whoever is purchasing, could purchase that
Yeah, then they can.
on behalf of the
pay it.
city,
Yep.
so. We've had that discussion before, and it seems like it pops up every
With the industrial
3,
park
4
we
years.
have in the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah,
so.
yep,
I'll move it.
okay.
I'll
Rick-
second.
Rick moves the resolution 22-04-04-03.
Correct.
And Sean made a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda is authorizing Green Step City Program.
Yes, so, kind of went into it a little bit, lengthy in the packet, but just briefly. About 12 years ago, an organization was created in Minnesota to, try to encourage cities really to, invest in energy-saving, initiatives across cities, not only to conserve resources, but also in part to save taxpayer dollars when we could. So getting into the Green Step Cities program, it is a voluntary program that continues to be run across the state. As of 2020, there were 140 cities totaling about half of Minnesota's population part of the program. And it was estimated that about $8.3 million were being saved each year by all of those cities for the various initiatives they took. And so, as I said, participation in this program is completely voluntary, and I guess, for lack of a better term, does not cost a city anything to be part of the program. Right now, the program consists of 5 steps that a city can advance through. Really, all those steps are, as far as I can tell, is a way of recognizing the fact that various cities are doing their part in trying to expend less resources. And so you get step 1 just by joining, and then the more best practices your city is participating in, the higher step the program will signify your city as. I have included a full list of all those best practices. I believe there's 175 at the moment that are being considered. Occasionally they change depending on trends within the industry. In terms of cities around us that are also participating in the program, Elko New Market joined up in 2013, Jordan in 2015, Belle Plaine in 2016, Shakopee in 2019, and Savage in 2020. As I could not find any LeSueur County cities that had joined into the program, but I do know that they highly encourage small cities to do it because they also will provide technical expertise if a city says, hey, we'd really like to try to do this piece of the program, but we just don't know how to do it. Green Steps will also kind of provide assistance in, okay, this is kind of what you need to undertake, grants you might need to write, that sort of thing. So,
But I don't quite understand, what is is there plenty of greenery, or was it like that arbor one that, was done back in the 2008? Where they went by and you could become an arbor, save a tree?
it's similar to like a Tree City USA program I know a lot of cities are part of, which basically allows them to pull up a little plaque that says, we invest a dollar amount towards our park systems and tree maintenance and that sort of thing throughout the city. It's really just a recognition program in an attempt to get cities to invest in some of these energy-saving resources, not only to use less energy, but to save cities money as well.
So with the Main Street reconstruction, can some of that be retroactive to the,
Yes, so anything the city currently does can be counted as part of the program. So it's entirely possible, you say, okay, we'll join, and you look through everything we do, and maybe we're already at step 3 type thing. But, and then it would be up to us as to how far we want to go into it. Do we want to continue pushing this? Do we kind of want to stay where we're at? it's really, being voluntary, it's very much a self-guided thing that allows for recognition, basically.
Is that the only benefit? Or is there like benefits when we apply for grants saying that?
I mean, I suppose the benefit could be there that you could say you are part of the Green Step program, and these are kind of some of the things that you're already kind of pushing for. But as you dig into more of it, more and more, it seems to be a recognition thing as well as a guide for cities that say, hey, we want to do more, we just don't know where to start.
Okay.
So.
Do you have a particular vision yourself of what you would like to see achieved or goals?
I don't know if I necessarily have a vision myself. Part of this whole program is to have a coordination team. And I did talk to the planning commission here earlier, I guess it was last month now. And they volunteered to act as a team. And so in theory, I'd probably go to them. Or maybe later down the road, somebody else would kind of take it over, and we discuss what are some things we might want to pursue in the next year or two, and what could those look like. But I don't know if there's anything particularly in there that I've looked at that said I definitely want to do this, and so we should be part of this program.
I'm sorry, you said planning and zoning?
The planning commission.
Planning commission?
Yes.
So wouldn't this be a citywide effort?
Correct, and that's kind of why I chose, so as a coordinating team, that's kind of why I chose the planning and zoning as that kind of coordinating body, because a lot of what they do, they've got their hands in quite a bit as a team.
Yeah, the comp plan is scheduled, and that's a big issue.
Yeah, and so once they brought something forward, if we wanted to pursue it, we then come to council and say, hey, as a coordinating team, this is what we talked about, and we'd like to kind of pursue this initiative going forward. Maybe it's, one of the, I think one of them in here is replace all of the bulbs across the city with LEDs type of thing, and what is that going to take for us? What kind of savings could we see, and that sort of thing. I know someone came and presented to the planning commission, and they'd mentioned that, I can't remember what city it was. I don't know if you remember, Sean, the city that basically pumped all their stormwater onto their softball fields.
Oh,
And
yeah.
was saving like $15,000 a year in watering costs.
Maplewood is it Maplewood or?
It maybe would, but they're basically redirecting all their stormwater and saving $15,000 a year by not having to water any of their softball fields.
Well, I think it's a good idea. I do, as you said, I think it provides a guide and a resource to try to come up with ideas or things to look at, and that's why I assumed you'd be kind of having the department heads pick and chew low-hanging fruit here to look
And that's
at.
probably how it'll start. I mean, if we decide to do this, I'll probably sit down with the department heads and say, okay, like, where are we? Like, how many of these can we check off? And I mean, then ultimately, if we decide to go forward with stuff, then talk to the coordinating team and say, okay, which ones do we want to potentially pursue this year, and at what cost could they be? And it just kind of, basically, they would act, I mean, basically as their planning commission body, making a recommendation to you all of what we want to do going forward.
Yeah, it seems very broad, so in a lot of different areas.
Just looking at this chart or this.
It looked a little too progressive, so I'd already planned on saying no, but there's a lot of stuff, listed in here, I don't know.
We're doing a lot already, so.
Yeah.
We do a lot of that already. Utilities through the city, I mean, we make strides toward LED conversion is a good example of that. I mean, we spend an allotted amount of money every year to try to work towards those goals, so I think a lot of it, you would look through there and say, we've already got to start on quite a bit of it.
And I think that's one of the benefits of this is you can take all those things you're doing that are in different areas and people don't know, one side's doing it, the other one doesn't know that it's being done, and you can group it into one format and see it all in front of you that this is a progress that's being made.
And Josh, the employees that make up this team, they can handle this in the scope of their other daily.
Yeah, so in terms of actual employees working on this, for now, it'll probably be just myself. But I'd foresee maybe in the future, if our staff grows, maybe we have somebody that comes on this and we say, hey, we figure out this will take up 5 hours, 10 hours a week of your job. And so your job as 10 hours a week or whatnot is to kind of coordinate this program. But as of right now, I kind of foresee myself taking it on until I get a better feel of what staff's timelines look like.
Any other questions? Otherwise, there's a motion if somebody wants to offer it.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 22040404 for the city to adopt the Green Step City program.
Is there a second?
Second.
Bruce seconded it. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is appointing official depository for investment sweep account.
Yes, and so the title of that is slightly changed. Robin and Bruce were kind of talking over the weekend, as Bruce has a little more background in these types of accounts. And Robin herself even knows a little bit more than I do. But basically, under Minnesota statute 472.06, governing bodies may authorize to redeposit city funds in different depositories. And so while First Bank and Trust of New Prague is our official depository, they are going to help us out with what is known as a custodial sweep account. Basically, it takes all of our funds on a nightly basis and sweeps those, and Bruce can correct me if I ever get off case here, sweeps those funds into various other accounts. That brings the limits down to within FDIC insurance ratings. That way the bank itself doesn't have to carry collateral should something happen. And then so this kind of happens on a nightly basis, and then it all comes back the next day. So the funds are still completely available to us. They are just in theory fully FDIC insured. There is also a possibility, and not really anything right now due to interest rates, but there is a possibility of getting more interest on our savings or our earnings than what would be under your standard checking account. And so I think these, from what I can tell, at least the cities that I've been a part of, these are becoming more and more common as a way to protect your money a little bit.
Is this our first go at it? It seems like that's come before us. Ken, do you remember?
I
The
don't
sweep
recall this
thing?
specifically, no.
Okay.
So I don't understand, at night it sweeps into different accounts to be FDIC insured, and then it all comes back together. What's the differentiation of that it's FDIC protected and then it all comes back? I don't get the mechanics of it.
Well, isn't there a certain amount, like $10,000?
Well, it's like 250,000, I think, is
Yeah.
FDIC, so.
Yeah, and the program basically works through a company, Intra-Fi Network Deposits, I guess is the call of it. In my day, when I worked at the bank, it was called Cedars. They changed the name of the company, but basically it's a redeposit program. So the money is redeposited into different institutions, and the benefit is that we're using those institutions' FDIC insurance coverage. And so it takes a lot of institutions to do this. If you have $1 million, you have to have 4. So every night it's going to 4 different institutions. They might be deposited into a bank in Little Rock, Arkansas or something. And then the next day, depending on the type of product, but I'm not sure what conversations you've had or what Robin has had, so it might go into a money market account. You can also do with CDs and things like that too.
And
So it doesn't-
And I think she did
There?
mention that it wasn't, I think she mentioned it was connected to money market accounts, not
Yeah,
CDs.
so you can choose what you want to do and get bids or whatever for
It
it.
says
but-
investment, so I assume that when it goes into those accounts, there's some investing
And
for that.
Well, I think, yeah, investments is probably a little more generous of a term. It's
Okay.
really only going to be used to go into deposit accounts that qualify for FDIC or National Credit Union insurance.
Okay,
It's not going to be
Yeah.
used to buy a treasury bond or
okay,
anything like that, like the broader definition of investments.
okay,
But-
okay.
But then, once that money goes to that institution, it stays with that institution.
Depending on what terms you have, if
Right.
it's a money market account or whatever the arrangement is, it might get swept back the next day, or if you want to leave it there, it might get left there, but the insurance is in place then for that, during that time period. So I'm not sure what conversations you've had about that, but those are things that can be determined as you go, but
Yeah,
it does open you up to that ability to do CDs or anything.
yeah, speaking to Robin, it sounds like it would all kind of be swept back on a daily basis, so that we'd have access to the capital quite easily.
So the insurance, is that per account or per account holder? So if I have $250,000 in the bank, in 3 accounts, you know, 3 $250,000 accounts is just insured up to 250,000.
Well, it'd be similar to like any other account. So if you have an account just in one name, you'd have an investment sweep account for that. If you had another one in joint, that'd be similar. You could have multiple accounts. But as soon as you do that, you have to make sure that you're following where the insurance is. Because the insurance is still limited to 250,000 and as.
Once.
And as, it's spelled out here, it's gotta be less than what you think the accrued interest will be.
Okay.
So you might be investing $248,000 as an example. And it might be split up into 10 or 15 different $248,000, depending on how much money you have going there.
Yep.
And that can go into all those different banks throughout the United States.
Okay.
And therefore, it's insured with the FDIC insurance. But if that's just in the one name, then you're covered. But if you have multiple names, then you can have more than that. But I'm not sure what the detail about that, whether you have to have a separate sweep account or not. For our purposes, that doesn't really matter, because all of it's the city of New Prague, we're one entity. We don't have Josh fund money and city of New Prague, it's just city of New Prague money, so we only have one entity. So in our case, it's always going to be the limit of $250,000. There is other material you can look at if you're interested in.
Is that yours, or did that come with?
I can provide you all with a 20-page agreement if you'd like to see.
Oh,
it.
no. Yeah, I think he has something else.
This is just what's off their website.
Oh,
The conversation I have with Robin is, because I'm familiar with this, I just thought that we should cite, this wasn't really available to cities until 2010, I think, when the amendment to the state statute changed, 2012. So this is fairly recent as it goes.
Cool.
That was available, but
Yeah.
especially in the last few years, there's been an abundance of cash out there, so all of our other deposits, anytime it goes over $250,000, have to be collateralized. So the bank is putting up collateral in the form of securities
Right now.
right now, and it's gotta be like, 125% of the deposit. So obviously, part of my job in my past history was to buy investments, and the right investments that might be eligible to secure these deposits with townships and counties and things like that.
So you would, basically, the finance director would say, we're depositing 2 million or something right? And then,
Right.
then you would have to buy collateral to cover that.
You have to have collateral on hand, because they don't call and say, I'm gonna deposit it, it's just there. And you have to have the collateral there every day to collateralize it.
Okay.
So if we make a large deposit into our account tomorrow, the bank has to secure it at the same time. And not all banks want to buy investments to do that, so that's why you think it's kind of ironic, but not all banks want cash, especially when there's a ton of it available to them.
Okay.
And so there's a cost, obviously, to maintaining those investments to the bank. And that's why this is another alternative, another tool in the toolbox for the bank and the city to work with their deposits. So,
Okay.
so if there's something the council wishes for us to continue on, we did provide a draft of resolution 22040405, appointing a depository for custodial sweep account.
Oh, there it is. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 22-04-04-05.
Okay, there's been a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a motion by Sean, seconded by Maggie. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Okay, the next thing is in general business, surplus city property.
Yeah, Mayor, City Council, in front of you is 11 items that we're looking at trying to sell. This is something that we've kind of collected over the years. None of these items on this list have been used in the last 3 or 4 years. besides probably the kitchen appliances that are inside City Hall kitchen, but that has been forfeited to us, or been given to us, I should say. So I'm just looking for your permission to sell. And again, a few of these items are probably not worth anything, but I need your permission to dispose of those.
Oh, look at that old safe.
That thing is heavy. I moved that.
Safe has been
times.
here for over 20 years since I've been
Oh,
here.
no, it's been here longer. That was the original safe in the city hall.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been at the park shop.
Yep.
Or I'm sorry, the street shop for over 20 years.
Yeah, but it was down there. I moved it from here to down there and then I had to move it some other place.
Yep.
Oh, no, we had a temporary. I forgot about that. Yeah, that thing's heavy.
Yeah,
So
I'll
again,
move it.
some of these items are not worth anything, and there's some items that are probably worth $15,000.
So move.
That pool heater,
Yep,
that thing couldn't have been used more than a year or two, right? I mean,
it was used for 1 year.
yeah, and I think we paid, what, 35,000 for it?
25,000 was the heater, but then there was like $10,000 in labor.
Okay.
So yes, it was 35,000 total.
And then that ADA pool left, that's over 10,000 too, aren't they?
What did I tell you, Ken? 4,500, I think is. I looked it up
Oh,
last
is it?
week. I think
Oh,
it was
I thought-
4,500, and we
okay.
used that for 2 years out there.
Where's the pool heater? Is that this thing?
I don't know if that's the pool or not.
Did we talk to the aquatic center about the lift?
They do not have interest in it.
What about the pool heater though? Is that something that if we ever, this splash pad or anything that developed, that could be utilized again?
Hesitant holding on to it any longer than we have been this whole time, because you just never know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been sitting in the pool until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I really don't know how well it works.
Oh.
It's something we would have to look into before we would sell it, or we sell it as is, but
Well, and there's enough outdoor pools across the Midwest that some city might be interested in picking up a old pool heater to keep on hand to replace their own.
Okay, Rick made a motion to
Approve.
go ahead with this. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Dispose of the surplus property. Any other discussion? How are you gonna do this, like K-bid or something?
certain items will go on different auction sites, like the tractor, I would put on probably Tractor Supply. Just certain, there's K-bid that's out there, so
Okay.
I know Bruce has sold a few items on like Min-bid, I think it was, so
Okay.
there's a lot of auction sites out there. Some
right.
are free, some you pay for, but the ones you pay for usually get more action, so sometimes it's better off paying that fee, cause it gets seen by a lot more people.
Wasn't one of those pianos up here for the longest time?
It was, it's been
Oh.
downstairs for quite a while, we have 2 of them now downstairs that
Move them.
just take up a lot of room that don't work.
Oh, initially though, wasn't there a group that did come in here and?
I wanna say what,
Seniors.
Yeah, seniors or
yeah,
whatever?
15 years ago or so, maybe?
Oh, okay.
There's been a motion, second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is demolition of the outdoor swimming pool.
I will take that one again. Mayor, City Council, on March 1st, I sent out, looking for quotes to demo the swimming pool, with a closing date or a received date of March 24th. I received 3 quotes. These 3 companies also, gave us quotes on demoing the armory last year. So again, quotes came in at, 64,000 and change, 70,000 and 198,000 and change. 2 of them are local companies, as you can see. I got a estimate, back in 2021, fall of 2021 of 60,000. I add $5,000 onto that in, contingent. Wasn't quite sure what would happen the next 6 months. So it ended up being just under with the, lowest bid to Deutsch at $64,350,000. There are, $1,163.35 to SEH. They helped me put the quote documents together. So again, it's staff recommendation to award the bid to Deutsch Construction of $64,350. And again, as we talked during budget time, this would come out of the $499 account.
Okay, any questions?
Any timetable, Matt?
I was just gonna ask the same question.
I got a call from him today asking if he could start moving stuff in today.
Oh,
I
really?
said, no, you need to wait until I get approval from the council. They would like to move stuff in tomorrow right away.
And the Orioles have been in contact with you for a little chunk of that to add a,
Yeah, I've talked to, last week we had a meeting with the school, and on part of the school, there's that stadium committee. Tom Wetchka's part of that, he was at that meeting, and they voiced their, voice that they would like a little piece of this for, you know, the batting, pitching
mound and.
bullpen, thank you. I'm not a baseball player, obviously. So yeah, there's always been talk that there's gonna be this little 30 feet, just throwing a number, 30 feet that we would be saving for that baseball field.
Okay.
But as of right now, it's just gonna be all green space until something's decided.
Do you need a vote from the council though to authorize them if they wanted to get going on that yet this summer?
Yeah, that would have to come from you guys saying that you're willing to.
Would that be, I'm maybe putting the horse in front of the cart here. or the
As of
cart
right
in front
now,
of the
they
horse,
do have a bullpen out in left field. It's not in a desired location. The thoughts are someday to be put into that green spot. I would like to probably sit down with the committee and / the baseball teams to figure out exactly what they're thinking before I would say, hey, let's give them 40 feet when really they only need 10 feet maybe, or
Sure.
that's all.
Yeah.
Before I would go to that route, I guess.
And there's also a potential for the feasibility study on the splash pad, and that outdoor pool space was one of the sites that we talked about, so.
And when we did meet with the splash pad, me and Ken, we did tell them that, you know, this part of it most likely will be going to the baseball field. Oh, yeah, yep. But I would like to sit down with them to see, are they looking 1 or 2 pitching mounds? Are they thinking just 1? Stuff like that, so.
Okay.
I just don't want there to be hard feelings. It sounds like there's kind of an unwritten agreement that someone's made about the 30 or 40 feet
Nope.
or.
No unwritten agreement. It was just more of a, hey, we'd really like to put something over here, and it was always said, yeah, I can see that being the area you would put it, but nothing has been decided that's up in the air on exactly what
So you're
would
not
be
saying
there.
you want to reserve certain
No,
land
absolutely
at
not.
this time or
No,
certain
no,
something or
I'm just
other?
saying that I could see that definitely going there down the road.
No, that's why I wanted to bring it up to council, because obviously that'll be a decision that we all make, and I just wanted to find out what that timeline was, because
Okay.
I do know that they would approach us at our next meeting if theoretically they could start building that, you know, or.
Yeah, and that's why I don't want any hard feelings, because to me, we haven't decided what we're gonna do with that property yet, so to
Right.
commit to someone that we're gonna allow them to do that.
No,
would
that's
be
why I
kind
brought
of-
it up, yeah, to
Okay.
have the discussion at council. I didn't know if we needed it now or, once it, again, it all depends on timelines and whatever else.
Yeah, and funds, who's paying for what.
Right.
So, yeah, there's a lot of moving parts in that I mean, honestly, Sean, I don't anticipate anything being moved in there this year, like even a pitching mound or whatever. Last week they thought we should move a batting cage over there. So I think there's a lot of thoughts and ideas out there, but nothing's set in stone yet.
No, and I told them that's gotta be a council decision, and that's why I asked the timeline, because they're all excited, like, hey, if this
Yeah.
gets filled in and taken down, that we can.
Yeah.
They've been waiting a
Still do
long
it
time
this
to see
summer.
that pool get
Yeah.
torn down.
No, in no way have I promised anything.
Yep.
I do support the 50 feet or whatever it is, because it's just a little sliver out of that whole thing, but, it's, obviously, there's other council members that have a vote and weigh in on it, so, but,
Yeah,
Okay.
going back to your question, I would anticipate a lot of action happening there this week already, the way he explained it to me today.
Okay,
I'll make a motion, we accept the bid, or did we do that already?
no, but clarify it, or just on,
I'll make a motion that we accept the, bid for the demolition of the outdoor swimming pool from Deutsch Construction of New Prague for $64,350, and also the $1,635 for SEH for putting the document quote together.
okay, thank you.
Second.
There's a second by Rick. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Mayor, if I could just say one more thing, I forgot to mention that we do need to have a contract signed before they would start, so
Do you have that?
I do have it here if you could sign it before you leave today, just because they are
Yep.
itching to get moving.
Yep.
Thank you.
I didn't remember, is everything gonna be fully graded then after this is done, or is there still more work afterwards?
So all the concrete will be completely removed, pool and everything, and then it's just gonna be backfilled with dirt and seeded. So it'll just be a big open grass
Okay.
area.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing is police officer hire request.
Yes, I will take this because the chief is out today. For our open officer position, we did have 16 applications that we ultimately received. We did interviews on 8 of those candidates, and ultimately made a conditional offer, which was accepted to Todd Bristol. Mr. Bristol was raised in Southern California and received his associate's degree in law enforcement from Normandale Community College, and then a law enforcement certificate from Hennepin Tech. He also has successfully passed the Minnesota Police Officer Standards and Trainings Test and is a licensed police officer. He has worked in the cities of LeSueur, Eden Prairie, and Montgomery in both part and full-time roles. So because of Mr. Bristol's experience, training, demeanor, and personality, it was believed by the chief that he would make an excellent fit for the department. And they are recommending him to start on April 18th, which would be at step 2 of the schedule, which is at $32 or $34.21 per hour, and then award him 40 hours into his vacation bank for that, and that's just due to the experience that he's kind of bringing to the position already. So, if you have any questions, I can try to answer them.
Okay, are there any questions? So then this will bring, or are we still down one?
I believe we're still technically down one road officer.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Rick made a motion to hire Todd Bristol,
Second.
and Bruce made the second. Is there any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Okay, the building inspector.
I'll take that one.
Yep.
I'll use, oh, I got two. For the building inspector position, we had that vacancy posted back on February 8th, February 9th. We had 7 total applicants. We ended up ultimately interviewing 5. We had made one conditional offer to one of the applicants and just couldn't come to agreement, so that ended up not working out. But second round of interviews was then held with the final 3 candidates that we had on the list, and we are recommending to hire Brian Peterson for the position, and he would be placed on pay grade 12, step 3, based on our compensation plan, $35.15 an hour. He has 20 years' experience as a structural inspector, kind of a special inspector for Braun Intertech, focusing mainly on footings, concrete, masonry, soils, and other concrete type inspections. So great experience from that end of things, larger commercial projects. And we look forward to having him on staff with that experience. So that will bring the building department back to full staffing level. And the recommended start date is planned to be April 25th for that. And if you've watched our weekly updates, we are ever ramping back up every day here with more permits. So we'll be glad to have him on board.
Okay. Any questions for Ken on this individual, Mr. Peterson? Otherwise, I take a motion to approve the hiring of the building inspector.
So moved.
Second.
The motion is seconded, Maggie and Sean. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'll just say a little, I think Ken would like to hear this, but I had multiple people that saw that ad in the paper and calling me saying, don't tell me Ken's leaving.
Oh, for the planner?
Yeah.
No, I heard that myself a few.
We did, yeah. So,
Yeah.
I thought you'd get a kick out of that.
Yep.
There's a lot of talk around town.
I know, except they don't know that I'm not just planner, I guess, at this point,
Yeah.
but.
Okay, there's miscellaneous, in your packet, the golf board and planning and utilities. So we'll go around the horn before I adjourn this meeting. Matt?
Parks position closes tomorrow at 4:30. We're accepting applications. Hopefully this week still, I'll be going through the TDs on it and then start interviewing next week. So hopefully, potentially by the next council meeting, we can bring someone towards you.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Bruce?
Just a quick update on our building addition down there. The final cement was poured today on all of the flooring in there. So, I think in the last 4 days, they poured almost 200 yards of cement in there, so. But, it's progressing really, really good, and so a lot of the other trades can get started now once the floors are in there. So.
I ask, is that the color of the garage doors?
No, actually, the wrong ones were shipped,
Okay,
and, they're all gonna be replaced once the project is complete.
Okay. all right.
You weren't the first person to ask.
Well, yeah, well, you know, I could be because they all kind of look the same originally, and then all of a sudden, one really has some different color in it, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, there's a huge delay in garage door manufacturing right now,
It's like a 6-month delay if I remember it on doors.
So, okay. Ken?
Nothing more.
Josh?
Just as an update, Barb wanted me to update you all. We have a few, board and commission positions that we've got, are gonna have open that we don't have applications for. Coming open, we do have 2 golf board positions, but we have received 3 applications, with 2 of them being a renewal. Park board, we've received, 2 applications for the open position, but we have not received any youth positions, so if any of you know any youth that would be interested in serving on the park board.
What's the age?
They're usually junior, senior high school.
Okay.
Planning commission, we have 1 open position and we've also received 1 as a renewal, but if you know anyone that else might be interested. And then what else? She mentioned that utility commission, we will have an open position and we have not received any. So if you know anyone who's interested in serving on the utility commission, tell them to submit. So
Who's not re-upping?
Brian Scope said he probably won't be up, but
Okay.
got late news. Gosh, I got a couple people now said they're probably gonna turn in.
oh, now we got a fight on our hands.
No,
Okay, so if any of you know anyone interested in serving on boards, I kind of figure as long as we've got an open position, we'll kind of keep the advertisement rolling on the website as well as occasionally do a social media blast, but just to let you all know, or Patrick can write in the news, so that's all I have.
Okay. Fire chief? Nothing. Okay. Maggie?
No, I don't have anything.
Sean?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify what the process is. So, and I don't know if it's just because it's the time of the year or what, but I had a phone call and then somebody at the fireman's dance talked to me about it. There's several houses that look pretty blighted, and I don't know what, and maybe they talked to you too, but there's a mattress right down the street from Steve's shop that's been sitting there since through the winter, I guess. But there's some other properties that still have abandoned vehicles or no license plates on them and whatnot. I don't know what the right, unless we just hear from the constituents, but I don't know if there's, when the police officers are patrolling, if that could be something that they could address, or I don't know what that process is. Do we have to, is it like the lawn where we have to send them a certified letter and then give them so many days, but?
Yeah, not certified, but same process as we have for anything, and obviously, we've found some staff here, so we haven't been actively seeking that out, but
Yeah.
we will be getting back.
I mean, I obviously don't travel every street, but some of the streets that I have traveled, it seems like it's sneaking up and becoming more of an issue.
We do have a number of letters out, at this point, just talked to the mayor about one right before the meeting here. So chances are, we may have seen it, but we'll get back out there and make another.
Is that something that this new position, the building inspector, could be part of, doing up and down the streets? And okay.
Yeah, we haven't been able to be proactive, we're just trying to keep our head above
Yeah.
water.
You're reacting to the complaints
We're reacting
right
to
now.
complaints.
Has one of those letters gone to Highland Drive?
I will have to look at that, I'm not sure, not one that I've written, sorry, not one that I've written, but I can tell you we do have a few out there at this point, kind of more in the core area here. Sean, I'll have to check on that mattress, I know that was one we did go out
I
to.
did drive by that one on the
Yep.
request of the phone call that I got.
We had
so.
another home in that area as well that
Yeah.
I definitely know a letter went out on,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it. There's a pile of dirt that got pushed up against a tree, but now it's accumulating other debris that's not biodegradable.
Yep.
It's quite an eyesore.
Yep, we'll check it out.
Thank you.
That was all I had.
Okay. I want to tell the fire chief, it was a good, thank you for the invite. It was a good time and
thanks for coming.
it was nice to kind of get back in the groove and life back to normal, but
Yeah, it was nice to honor
your,
those guys. and everything.
yes, your crew was represented well and
Thanks for
it's, well, yeah, it makes us look good, your department, so. That's all I have.
I was just gonna ask, Ken, have we received official notification of the grant, Ashbor grant, or is that still outstanding?
We have not received the grant agreement yet. No, we have not.
Has it been announced?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, that
So I
answers
think
my
technically at this point, we can't formally say that.
question. Can't say
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
Okay.
Still waiting for that.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Rick?
Nothing.
Sure.
I was here for the North Memorials.
Okay. All right, that's
Oh, no,
fine.
that is not till 7:30, so you're early.
Yep.
I did have one more thing.
Okay.
I have not heard from any of you as to whether you'd like to attend or head up to Capitol on the 20th.
No.
So I haven't actually registered for anything yet.
Don't know
But if you have decided you would like to go, let me know and I can try to set up some appointments.
April 20th. When is that, a Wednesday?
Did you
said?
find transportation?
No,
Okay.
it would be very expensive. I don't wanna do that.
April 20th is the Wednesday after Easter.
Normally I can bill somebody for it, but I can't right now.
I don't know if I'm up to speed on the legal, Minnesota cities. Was there some pressing things that they needed our?
I mean, I think the
help on,
biggest
or-
thing that I've seen to see come pressing through is just the Affordable Housing Act or whatever they're calling it now this year.
The thing that we were opposed to.
That,
last
yeah, earlier in the year, we did
Oh, the granny
a
pods or
resolution
whatever, or
say,
The,
calling for local control, whereas they want to
Oh,
put more
that
of
one,
that
yeah,
control up
okay.
at the state level.
okay,
Local take away our ability to zone.
yeah, I remember that now, okay.
So I think that's kind of the big one, because I get email invites about every week for some of various group that wants me to join up to oppose, so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I did your weekly update, I guess it did make me wonder about the vote for May 24th or something. Are we doing the voting? Are we organizing the voting, and do we have a cost in that, I imagine?
Yeah, we will have a cost from the special election for Hagedorn's seat that was open, so
And
we
obviously,
have,
that wasn't budgeted.
And this-
there.
it's not
And the
budgeted for.
state's gonna reimburse us, right?
I haven't heard that at this point, so I'm gonna say probably not. Yeah, we only have obviously one precinct from LeSueur County that we have to have there. We're not gonna have any cost for, we're just gonna do it in the community room at the Fitness and Aquatic Center, because that's where we have our polling location at. Normally use the gym, but we can handle a special one in their community room. We'll have a smaller crew of election judges, but obviously we have to have, you know, enough to have party split and enough people to do all the jobs that we need to do, so, yeah, unfortunately, it just happened and we have to take care of that, but
What's the date on that again?
May 24th.
May 24th, Tuesday.
It's not a big expense, though, isn't it, $5,000 or something like that?
I mean, you're basically
It's,
paying for
it's the staff time, and then obviously we provide lunches typically as well, so I would hope we'd be a little under that, but.
Well, it's only half of the city, so it's like a half of a sandwich then?
Yes.
Well, there is lunch and dinner. depending on who we have.
What's a half sandwich?
Well, just, I'll go along with Bruce, half for lunch and half for supper. Okay, if there isn't anything else, I'll take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so then
Yes, the